Hey y'all, I'm Brooklyn, your friendly neighborhood witch, and today I'm going to show you how I make our mini incense sticks. In our shop, the clove and cinnamon, the one I'm holding here, is our most popular incense. That and the veil lifted incense. This one is the most simple and I think the most accessible. All you need is cinnamon, clove, Makko powder, which you can order online, and activated charcoal. Those are going to be the two combustible agents. Before we get started, and if you want to skip ahead to just seeing how we do it, then I totally understand. I'll put a time marker there. But before we get started, I wanted to talk about the use of incense, and aside from just the aromatic appeal, which is totally fine. If you just want to light it for your space to smell really good, then like go off, sis. However, incense has historically been used for different spiritual practices, rituals, spellcrafting, etc. Incense contains different herbs, resins, and sometimes essential oils, and utilizing plant magic as an ally in your rituals and spellcrafting is a methodology or a modality that is as old as time. So that is why I and many other practitioners love to utilize incense in their craft. I also like to use incense when it comes to meditation. I find that for me personally, if I can light an incense stick and I can just focus in on the smoke, it just gives me a pinpoint to kind of anchor to so that I'm able to meditate way easier. I personally use incenses that contain herbs and resins that are in alignment as far as their properties go with the workings that I'm trying to do. So for example, today we are doing cinnamon and clove. Cinnamon is great for success, healing, protection, love, among other things. Clove, on the other hand, is very intense. I personally like to use it for cleansing, for protection, for warding negative energy. There's a list of things, but it's, even when you smell it, it's a very intense and strong aroma, and I think that's indicative of what it can do for you as a plant ally.
All right, let's make some incense. So for this, you will need 2 teaspoons of cinnamon, 1 teaspoon clove, 2 teaspoons activated charcoal, and 1 teaspoon Makko powder. If you choose to add essential oils for this batch, you will need 7 drops of whatever essential oil blend you would like, and you can add DPG, which is dipropylene glycol. I highly recommend watching the Incense Dragon here on YouTube. He's who I learned everything from, because he goes more in depth on the use of DPG, and it's incredibly common in all incenses, and it essentially helps to kind of alleviate that smoky smell and allow your essential oil blend to shine through more. And honestly, for this batch and for this incense, you don't need any essential oil at all. The cinnamon and clove are perfectly splendid on their own. You'll also need incense blanks. You can get them on Etsy, online. I like to break mine up into like 3.5 inch sticks. So when it comes to herbs, there are a few ways that you can do this. You can use a mortar and pestle and you can grind it out the old-fashioned way. You can use a coffee grinder and you can grind it out that way. Or you can just purchase it already pre-powdered. Just make sure that whenever you do powder them out, you use a sifter so that any of the chunkier bits are separated from the rest. It just allows your incense making to be a little bit easier, but I mean, you don't have to. If you want chunky bits in there, keep it. From there, we're going to combine all the herbs together, and I like to use a wooden stick, just one of the incense blanks, to pre-mix the herbs together. And you may have noticed there's a reason why I didn't give an exact amount or proportion size for water, and that's because every climate is different. Essentially, you're adding water in just so it can evaporate. It just allows you to have your dough and to form it into the incense sticks, and then after you leave it out, it's all the water is going to evaporate anyway. And if you add too much water, you will get a very tacky type consistency, and it makes it almost impossible to form any cones or incense sticks, which I forgot to mention. With this recipe, you can make cones. You don't have to make incense sticks, but today that's what we're doing. So anyway, I like to slowly add water by using this dropper. And then when it gets to about this consistency, this is when I like to add in the essential oil blend, because I've noticed for me personally, if I wait to add it towards the end, it can sometimes make the incense dough tackier because it already has enough water. And if I add it at the beginning, I feel like it makes it more difficult to evenly distribute the blend throughout the dough. Once you get it to about this consistency, you can go ahead and start making your cones or your sticks. So for these 3.5-inch sticks, I use a 1/2 teaspoon of incense dough per stick. And I ball it up first, and then I roll it into a snake-like form, much like what you used to do with Play-Doh. And at this point, I prefer to insert the stick into the snake, but there are many different ways that you can actually form your incense stick. You can purchase incense extruders, there's just a lot of different methods. This is what works best for me, so do what works best for you. And after this, you're gonna leave out your incense sticks or cones, depending on what you did, out to dry either overnight or a couple of days. It entirely depends on your environment and how humid it is. If it's more humid, it's gonna take a lot longer. Another option you can do is use a food dehydrator. Now, for some incenses, I feel like the food dehydrator does diminish the scent of the incense. But for cinnamon and clove, they are very potent scents, and so it's okay to put them in a dehydrator overnight for 12 hours at 95 degrees, and you'll know your incense is ready when you light it and it stays lit. If you light it and it goes out, it needs to dry longer. Also, you can touch it and feel it, and if it feels a little wet or a little damp, it probably needs a little bit longer. So it can take anywhere from overnight to a week to dry. It really just depends. The thinner your incense sticks or cones are, the easier they will dry, so keep that in mind.
I hope you had fun making incense with me today, and I hope it works out for you. Let me know if you tried it out, how it went. If you don't want to make it, I do, shameless plug, I do sell it. But I also wanted to make this video because I think as practitioners, witches, mystics, whatever term you want to claim, I think sometimes we get very wrapped up in consuming different metaphysical products. And look, I have a metaphysical shop, so I might be shooting myself in the foot. And I appreciate y'all supporting me. However, I do feel as if it is important to stay kind of connected. The craft is messy. It isn't always glitz and glamour like you see on Instagram aesthetics. I'm guilty of that too. I'm a sucker for an aesthetic. However, it gets really messy and really crafty. It's a craft. It's witchcraft. And I think that is important. It gets us much more hands-on and connected to our spiritual practice. So this is one really great way to get connected and get hands-on and get dirty when it comes to your personal modalities, rituals, and working. So that is all I have for today. I will see you next time. I'm going to try and make a video a week. We will see how that goes. Let me know what else you want to see, what other topics you want me to talk about, if any. Yeah, that's all. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.